Reed's eyes opened to smoke. The cockpit was upside down. His body ached all over. Wires sparked above him. A cracked screen blinked red. "Critical system failure," it said. He unbuckled slowly and dropped to the dirt below. His hands scraped against sharp metal. He winced, but crawled out of the wreckage. The jungle air hit him like heat from an oven. Loud, thick, alive with strange sounds. Birds. No, something else. Reed stumbled forward. He looked around, no signs of human life. No come signal, no backup. Just trees taller than buildings and leaves the size of blankets. He was alone. The next few days were a blur. He built a small shelter with broken metal and branches, caught weird lizard birds with a stick trap, and drank filtered water from a cracked pipe. But he was getting weaker. The cut on his leg was infected. He couldn't stand without shaking. On the 7th day, he collapsed, face down in the mud. Breathing shallow, he thought that was it. No rescue, no survival, just death under an alien sky. But he didn't die. When he woke up, he was in a different place, lying on soft moss under a glowing tree. A warm cloth rested on his head. His leg was cleaned and wrapped, and someone was watching him. She sat on a stone not far from his side, tall and lean, with glowing teal skin and eyes like silver moons. Long dark hair flowed down her back. She didn't speak, just stared at him quietly. Reed tried to sit up. Pain shot through his body. He groaned. And she moved, fast, silent, smooth. She knelt beside him and gently pushed him back down. Then she held a small wooden bowl to his lips. The liquid tasted like earth and honey. Warmth spread through his chest. He tried to speak. "Who? Who are you?" She didn't reply. She only blinked, then rose. Her bare feet made no sound as she walked away. He watched her disappear into the trees, her long cloak dragging behind like a shadow. Reed didn't know if she was real or just a fever dream. But the next morning she returned, and the next after that, bringing roots, fruit, and strange healing flowers, never speaking, but never leaving either. He began to call her the silent one in his mind. By the 10th day, Reed could walk. Again, limping but stronger, he followed her through the trees once. Not far, just to see where she went. She didn't stop him. She led him to a small cliff that overlooked a valley full of soft lights. Alien structures, a hidden village. She pointed, then looked at him, then back at the sky. Reed understood. He was being watched, but not just by her. That night, they sat by a fire. He tried to speak again. "Thank you," he said. "You saved my life." She tilted her head. Then, slowly, she touched his cheek. Her fingers were cool and gentle. Reed felt something strange, a pulse-like energy run through his skin. He stared at her, her face close, her eyes glowing in the firelight, and for a moment he forgot the rules, forgot the danger, forgot everything. He leaned in, his lips just inches from hers, and whispered, "Can I kiss you?" She blinked once, then stepped back quickly. A sharp breath escaped her lips. "You already did," she said. Her voice was soft but sure. Reed froze. "What?" "You already kissed me," she said again, in front of the council. He blinked, confused. "I've never seen your village," he said. "I've never met any council." She stepped closer. "You were dying under the red moon," she said. "I gave you life from my mouth. I touched your face, and I spoke your name. That is our way," she added. "That is how we marry." Reed's heart stopped. "I was unconscious," he said. "I didn't know." She looked down. "But you accepted my food," she said, "and sat by my fire, and leaned toward me just now, to us. That is a choice." Reed didn't know what to say. He looked at her. She wasn't angry, only confused that he didn't understand. He whispered, "Does that mean I'm your She nodded. You are my husband, she said. By the old rights. Reed sat in silence. The fire crackled beside him. The stars turned slowly above, and for the first time since the crash, he didn't feel alone. Reed sat by the fire, stunned. The alien girl Kella had just told him they were married, not in a joking way, not with laughter or teasing, but calm, certain, as if it was an accepted truth. He stared into the flames, trying to understand her words, trying to remember anything that could have meant marriage to her. I don't understand, he finally said. You saved me, yes, but I didn't know that meant we were bonded. Kayla tilted her head. Her silver eyes watched him like the sky watched the sea. Unmoving but deep. You do not know our customs. She said softly, but still, you accepted. He frowned. Accepted. What? Kayla touched her chest. Life, food, fire, name, she said. One finger counting each point. Those 4 are enough. Reed's voice dropped. That's marriage. In your culture. She nodded. When a soul is saved and offered for signs, she said, and when he takes them willingly, he becomes bound. He rubbed his face. I didn't mean to, he said. I didn't understand, Kayla. Didn't argue, but she looked disappointed. Reed noticed it. Not anger, not sadness, just quiet distance. I'm not trying to insult you, he said quickly. I just where I'm from. We do things differently. I know, she replied. That's why I waited. Reed's heart skipped. Waited for what? For you to realize, she said, or to walk away. She stood then, her tall frame casting a shadow over the firelight. I will take you to the council tomorrow, she said. They will decide. Decide what? He asked. If the bond can be broken. Reed stayed up most of the night, listening to the strange forest sounds, the rustle of glowing plants, the call of creatures he didn't know. He wasn't angry, but he was scared. Scared that something deep and sacred had been placed on him, and he didn't know how to carry it. The next morning, Kayla returned with a cloak made from leaf silk. Wear this, she said. You will not shame them with exposed skin. Reed put it on quietly. It was light but strong, fitted for someone his size. She led him through the jungle, paths hidden beneath moss and roots, until they reached a clearing filled with pale blue mist. In the center stood 5 figures in long robes. Elders, they sat in carved stone chairs. Faces hidden beneath bone masks, a 6th seat sat empty. Kayla stepped forward and bowed. Reed did the same, copying her movements. An elder raised a hand. Speak your heart, Kayla, one said, voice old but strong. Kayla looked straight ahead. I found this human broken and dying, she said. I gave him breath, name, food, and fire. He took them all. She added, I believed it to be fate. Another elder spoke, and he does not remember the vow. Reed stepped forward. I never meant to trick her, he said honestly. I didn't know your ways. You accepted her food, the elder said. Yes. Reed nodded. You sat at her fire. Yes, she called you by name. She did. You lived? I did, Reed whispered. The council was silent for a moment. Then one elder spoke firmly. The bond is real. Reed's chest tightened. So I have no say. Another elder leaned forward. You have a choice. Now, he said, you may keep the bond and stay, or break it, and never return. Reed turned toward Kayla. She didn't look at him, her face calm but guarded. He wanted to speak, but what would he say? I like you, but not like that. Would that even make sense to her? The council waited, all eyes human. An alien were on him. I don't want to hurt her, he said slowly, but I don't know if I'm ready to be someone's husband. Kayla finally spoke again. Then do not choose for both of us. She said, stay in the village. Learn. See me not as a symbol, but as a person. Her voice was soft but strong. If you still wish to leave after that, she said, I will not stop you. Reed felt something stir in his chest. Hope. Respect. Guilt. Maybe all of it. He turned back to the elders. I'll stay, he said, but I want to understand what this really means. The elders nodded. So be it, they said. The trial of bond begins. Kayla stepped beside him, her voice gentle now. I'll show you everything, she said. But know this, you are not a prisoner, she said. You are a partner. Reed followed Kayla through the village. Tall trees surrounded the homes like silent watchers. Huts were built high in the branches, connected by strong ropes and curved bridges. Faint blue mist glowed underfoot, making the whole place look like a dream. As they walked, villagers peeked out from doorways. Some whispered, others just stared, not in hate, but in confusion. He was the outsider, the man who accidentally married Kayla, and now he was living among them. Kayla stopped in front of a tree hut. This will be your home, she said. For now, separate from mine. Reed nodded. Until the bond is accepted by both, she added. It is respectful. He entered the hut. It was small but clean. Mats of woven grass, a shelf of dried roots, a bowl of cool water. Simple, peaceful. Later, Kayla brought him clothing. A soft wrap for the lower body, a light vest. Too much fabric makes you a stranger, she said. We wear the forest. He laughed a little. I'll try not to look ridiculous. You already do, she replied without a smile. But her eyes shimmered with the hint of a joke. The next few days were strange. Kayla showed him how to speak simple words in her language, how to greet with a hand to the heart, how to thank by touching foreheads. At first, Reed struggled. He bowed when he should have stood tall. He used a greeting meant for elders on a child. But Kayla never mocked him. She corrected him gently, always patient. They ate together in silence. She placed food in front of him, first a sign of care. He learned to return the gesture, even if he didn't understand all of it. It made her eyes soften each time. One evening, after a long day of learning, Reed sat outside his hut, watching the stars. Kayla approached and sat beside him without a word. He looked at her. Why me? He asked. Out of all the people you could have saved, why did you choose me? She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, you were broken, but you still tried to stand. You looked at the sky and didn't cry. That meant something to me, she said softly. In our stories, those who look up while wounded are strong souls. Reed blinked. No pressure, huh? Kayla tilted her head. Is that a joke? He smiled. Yes. I will learn to laugh, she said, with a small nod. Reed chuckled again. I think you already are. They sat together until the moons rose, two white orbs glowing above. The trees, the village quieted, night creatures sang. The world felt calm. And for the first time, Reed didn't feel like a guest. He felt like a part of something. The next morning, a group of villagers approached him. A tall man with braided silver hair spoke. You are Kella's chosen, he said. Then you must take part in the test of bond. What's that? Reed asked carefully. A small trial, the man said. To see if your bond is more than words. Kayla stepped in quickly. It's harmless, she said, but serious. That afternoon, Reed was taken into the forest. 3 tasks were placed before him, each tied to a meaning in Kella's culture: patience, trust, and sacrifice. The first task was simple. He had to wait without food or drink, alone, for 1 hour while a storm passed. Not moving, not sleeping, just enduring. It was hard, but he did it. The second task, he had to walk blindfolded while Kayla led him with only her voice. He stumbled twice, nearly fell off a log bridge. But he kept walking, trusting her words. And when the blindfold came off, she stood beside him, smiling. You listened, she said. Many do not. The third task, he had to choose between saving a rare, glowing flower Kayla had carried from childhood, or rescuing a young villager trapped under a fallen tree. He didn't hesitate. He rushed to the child and pulled them free. His back nearly gave out, but he succeeded. Later, Kayla handed him the crushed remains of the flower. "You gave up something sacred," she said. "You were more sacred," he replied. Not just to her, but to the tribe. He didn't even realize what he said until she blinked rapidly. She stepped closer. "You are learning our ways," she whispered. "You are not just wearing our clothes." Reed nodded slowly. "I still don't know what I'm doing," he said, "but I'm trying." Kayla raised her hand and touched his cheek. Not as a healer, not as a stranger, but as someone who cared. "You're not just trying," she whispered. "You are becoming." And for the first time, Reed felt the bond wasn't a mistake. Maybe it was something that had started before either of them realized. Not by ritual, but by choice. The village air felt heavy that morning. Something in the way the birds flew low. Something in how the drums didn't play. Reed noticed it the moment he stepped outside his hut. Kayla stood waiting by the tree path. Her face unreadable, her cloak pulled tight, but her eyes didn't hide attention. "What's wrong?" Reed asked. She hesitated, then said softly, "He has returned." Reed blinked. "Who?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and began walking. Fast, without looking back, he followed, heart beating faster. They reached the council square. A crowd had already gathered. Whispers spread like wind through dry leaves. Reed saw the man standing in the center. He was tall, broad, with deep green markings across his arms. Dark braids hung over his chest, and his golden eyes locked onto Reed like a hunter spotting prey. "That's Dren," Kayla said. "My first chosen." Reed's stomach dropped. "Wait. You were bonded before?" Kayla nodded slowly. "It was arranged when we were children, but when war came, he left the tribe to fight. No word. For years, and now he's back," Reed said quietly, "and I'm in his place." Before Kayla could speak again, Dren raised his voice. "I returned to find my bride given to an outsider," he said coldly, "to a man who doesn't even bleed our color," the crowd murmured. The elders watched silently. Reed stepped forward. "I didn't steal anyone," he said. "I was dying. She saved me," Dren sneered. "Then you should have died. Human." Kayla stepped between them. "I chose him," she said firmly. "My bond to you was never completed." "Dren, you left." Dren's fists clenched. "I fought to protect our people. You replaced me with a stranger." The elder council rose. One voice spoke. "This conflict brings dishonor to this sacred bond. It must be settled with a right of balance." Kayla turned sharply. "No," she said, "he is not ready." "I accept," Reed said suddenly. His voice cracked but clear. Kayla turned to him, shocked. "You don't even know what that is?" "I know enough," he said. "If I don't stand up for us now, when will I?" The elder nodded. "At moonrise, the bond will be tested." Dren smirked. Kayla looked furious, but Red stood tall. That night, the village gathered in the ceremonial pit. A ring of lightstones surrounded them. 2 weapons were placed in the center, one a curved blade, the other a wooden staff. Dren reached for the blade without hesitation. Reed picked the staff. He'd trained a little in their ways, but not enough. The elder raised his hand. "This is not a battle to kill," he said, "not a battle to reveal the heart." The fight began. Dren struck hard and fast. Reed blocked once, twice, but stumbled on the third blow. He fell to one knee. The crowd gasped. Kayla stood at the edge, her hands tight in fists. Reed rolled away and stood again. He didn't fight with strength. He fought with movement, timing, and will. He began to dodge, to redirect, to frustrate. Dren growled with each missed hit. The crowd noticed. Dren was the warrior. But Red was thinking. Finally, Reed found an opening. He spun and struck the blade from Dren's hand. The staff knocked the weapon far across the pit. Dren lunged with his bare hands, but Red didn't strike. He simply stood still, and when Dren's fist reached his chest, Reed caught it and let it go. "I'm not here to fight you," he said calmly. "I'm here because I stayed." Silence. The elder stepped forward. "And that is the truth," he said. "One fights because of pride. The other stands because of love." The crowd bowed their heads. The decision was made. Dren stepped back, eyes burning, but he said no more. He walked away without another word. Reed turned to Kayla. She rushed forward. "I told you not to accept the challenge," she whispered. "You could have been hurt." "But I had to show them I meant it," Reed said. "Not just to them," he added. "To you, too." Kayla touched his chest where Dren's fist had struck. "You stood," she whispered, "even when you could fall." Reed smiled. "I had something worth standing for." And as the crowd slowly returned to their homes, Reed and Kayla stood in the center of the circle, not just as bonded by accident, but now accepted by choice. 3 days after the fight with Dren, the elders sent for Kayla and Reed. They stood before the sacred tree, its roots wide and glowing faintly under the soil. The air felt heavy and warm, like something ancient was listening. The elder with the longest robe stepped forward. "You have faced fire, but not the flame of the spirit," he said. "You have fought with body, but not with soul." Reed looked to Kayla, confused. She nodded once. "It is the next step," she whispered. "The trial of union." Reed took a slow breath. "What does it test?" "Memory," she said. "Truth, feelings we cannot hide." Kayla took his hand gently. "It is not about passing or failing," she said. "It is about being seen." That night, the ceremony began. The two were taken into a circular chamber under the roots, lit by blue crystals and scented with burning leaves. Villagers gathered above, but only the bonded entered the chamber. A priestess stood before them. She wore no mask, only silver paint across her eyes. She handed them each a cup of steaming liquid. "Drink," she said, "and your minds will open." Reed hesitated, but Kayla drank, so he followed. The taste was bitter and sweet, like earth and lightning. Then everything faded. The walls, the floor, the chamber gone, replaced by a quiet field of stars. Reed stood alone. He turned. Kayla appeared beside him, but she looked younger. "Where are we?" He asked. "My memory," she said softly. "The day I lost my first mate, the stars blinked." Suddenly, the field became a battlefield. Reed saw smoke, fire, and alien warriors falling. Kayla, just a girl, then stood frozen, tears in her eyes. She held the hand of a boy who didn't move anymore. Reed stepped closer. Kayla present. Kayla stood beside him, watching herself. "I loved him," she whispered, "but I never said it." Reed wanted to reach out, but he didn't speak, only listened. Then the stars shifted again. Now they were in a metal wreck. Reed blinked. "This is my crash," he said. "I remember this," but this time, he saw something different. Kayla was already there. She had come long before he woke up. She pulled him from the fire. She wept over his unconscious body. She whispered his name again and again. "You saved me," Reed said quietly. "Before I even knew you," she nodded. "Because something in you felt familiar." The scene faded. Now a new space appeared, one neither of them had seen before. It was a shared space, built from both their hearts. A small home, a fire, a sky with twin moons. Kayla looked at him. "Do you want this?" she asked. "Not because of ritual, not because you feel trapped, but because of me." Reed stepped forward. "Yes," he said, without hesitation. "Because when I was nothing, you made me feel like someone again. You didn't ask for praise or power. You just stayed." Kayla's eyes shimmered. She reached up and placed her palm on his heart. Reed mirrored the gesture. Suddenly, light poured around them, warm and bright. A sound like a heartbeat echoed in the space. The shared space slowly dissolved. And they opened their eyes back in the chamber beneath the tree. The priestess nodded. "You have seen each other," she said. "You are now fully bonded." They walked out together, hand in hand. The crowd watched in silence, then slowly heads began to bow. Not just to Kayla, not just to Reed, but to both of them as one. Kayla turned to him as the wind stirred her cloak. "You saw me?" she whispered. "All of me," Reed smiled, "and I'm still here." He said, more than before, above them, the moons crossed. Rare sign of unity in her people's beliefs. Kayla looked up. "It is a blessing," she said. Reed looked at her. "I already got mine." They didn't kiss. They didn't need to, because now there was no confusion, no mistake, no accident. Just two souls, bonded by fate. But united by choice. The sky turned red at dusk. Kayla stood on the watch platform, eyes scanning the forest below. Reed climbed up beside her, holding a wooden spear he had trained with for weeks. "What is it?" he asked, breathing hard from the climb. She didn't answer at first. Her body was still. Then she whispered, "They've returned." Reed followed her gaze. In the distance, small fires burned beyond the trees, flickering like warning lights. Kayla turned toward him. "They are not from our tribe," she said. "They belong to the Tavok." Reed remembered the name Kayla had told him once long ago. The Tavok were an aggressive offshoot clan. They didn't accept change. They hated outsiders. "They will not like that I bonded with you," she said. "They may come for me." "No," Reed said firmly. "They'll have to go through both of us." A horn echoed through the trees, low and cruel. The village fell silent. Elders gathered quickly. Guards formed ranks with sharp bone blades. Mothers pulled children inside the huts. Kayla stood before the council. "I will speak to them," she said. "They once respected my family." Reed stepped beside her. "I go to," the head elder, eyes wise and tired, nodded once. "Go," he said. "But take the truth with you." At the border of the village, two Tavok warriors waited, one tall and scarred, the other younger but fierce. They wore armor, made of bark and bone, faces painted red. Kayla raised her hand in greeting. "I am Kayla of the Spirit Grove," she said. "I come in peace." The tall warrior snarled. "Peace? You bonded with a human." Reed stepped forward. "I'm not your enemy," he said. "I only wish to live in peace with her people." "You are filth," the warrior growled, a soft thing in a world of strength. Kayla's voice was steady. "I chose him," she said, "and the grove accepts him." "The grove is weak," the younger one snapped. "We will take you, Kayla. You will forget this outsider." Reed clenched his fists. Kayla's voice turned cold. "You have no claim to me," she said. "I walked the trial, and he walked beside me." The older Tavok laughed, then let him bleed for it. They vanished into the trees without another word. That night, Kayla and Reed stood before the tribe. "They will come," she said, "not to speak again, but to fight." Reed looked around. The villagers had fear in their eyes, but also pride. They had stood before storms, wild beasts, and wars. They would not run now. "We fight together," Reed said. "I may not be born of this forest, but I will bleed for it." The next day, the Tavok attacked, screaming like wolves. They came from the trees, climbing, leaping, roaring. Fire arrows flew through the air. Screams echoed. Reed and Kayla fought side by side. Her blade danced through the air. His spear blocked and struck with careful precision. At one point, Kayla was surrounded. 3 Tavok warriors closed in. Reed leaped in front of her without thinking, took a blow to the shoulder, fell, but rose again. Kayla screamed, her power bursting out in a bright pulse. The attackers fell back, stunned by the force. She knelt beside him. "You're bleeding," she said, panicked. I told you, Reed said, wincing. They'll have to go through both of us. Together, they pressed forward, fighting not as warrior and outsider, but as one with clever strategy and unity. The village began to push back, using terrain, fire traps, and their bond to each other. The Tavok lost their advantage. By sunset, the last of the attackers retreated. The forest grew quiet again. Smoke rose into the red sky, but the spirit grove still stood. Reed sat near the central fire. Arm wrapped in cloth, Kayla sat beside him. She held his hand tightly. You were not born here, she whispered, but you defended it like it was your blood. I didn't know what husband meant when you first said it, Reed admitted, but now I do. She leaned her head on his shoulder. You're more than that now, she said. You're part of the tribe. The elders gathered around them. The head elder placed his hand on Reed's other shoulder. From this day forward, he said, you are not outsider, you are spirit-bound. The tribe bowed their heads in respect. Reed looked at Kayla, tired, bruised, but alive, and finally, he understood what she had offered him that first night. Not just rescue, not just shelter, but a place to belong, a reason to fight, and someone worth bleeding for. The war was over. Smoke had faded from the trees. Wounds were being treated. The forest was quiet once more. But inside Reed's heart, a storm still brewed. He stood on the edge of the spirit grove, looking at the stars above. In the distance, lights blinked, tiny and unfamiliar. A signal the human rescue ship had finally arrived. Late, but still here, Kayla joined him, silent at first. She stood beside him, watching the same sky. Found me, Reed said softly. Kayla nodded. I know. He looked down. I didn't think they'd come. They did, she said. And now you must choose. He turned to face her. Her silver eyes were steady, but he saw something else behind them. Sadness, maybe fear. Not for herself, but for him. I came from that world, he said, pointing to the stars. But it feels far now. It still belongs to you. Kayla whispered, I would not stop you if you wished to return. Reed looked at his hands, scarred, calloused, stronger than before. These hands had held a spear, had carried Kayla through fire, had touched her cheek with reverence. He looked at her again, her dark hair tied with healing leaves, her voice soft but unshaken. You're letting me go, he said. I don't want you to stay just because of bond, she said. I want you to stay because of love. Reed didn't answer. Not yet. He walked through the village one last time. The children waved at him. Some tried to imitate his strange earth accent. Elders bowed their heads in respect. He passed the training grounds where he had fallen again and again. Past the council tree where he had defended his heart. Each step reminded him of the journey, of the man he used to be, of the one he had become. At the center fire, he sat alone. He pulled something from his bag. A small photo, worn his family back on Earth, smiling, unaware of stars or alien wars. He stared at it, then closed his eyes. He remembered his old job, his old apartment, the coldness of space travel, the loneliness of quiet rooms. Then he opened his eyes and looked at the village around him. Warm fires, laughing voices, Kella's cloak hanging near his. The scent of forest and life, and he knew, the next morning. The rescue ship hovered above the trees, its engines humming like distant thunder. The captain stepped out, armored and efficient. We got your signal, she said. You ready to go home? Reed looked at her, then back at Kayla. Then said clearly, I already am home. The captain frowned. You sure? Reed smiled. I found something here, he said. Someone. The captain looked at Kayla, then nodded. All right, she said, but you won't get another pickup. I won't need one, he replied. The ship lifted, disappearing into the clouds, leaving only wind and silence behind. Kayla stepped forward. You didn't have to, she whispered. I wanted to, Reed said. Back then, I was just trying to survive. Now I want to live. He held her hand. She squeezed it gently. You choose me, she said again. He nodded. Every day, later that night, the tribe held a feast, not for war, not for bonding, but for returning. Reed was given a new name in the old language, Kathir. It meant the one who chose twice. Kayla stood beside him as the flames rose high. Villagers danced. Drums beat like a second heart. She leaned toward him. You may kiss me now, she whispered, this time fully awake. He did, and it wasn't about customs or trials or promises. It was just two souls choosing each other again. And again, as stars blinked above them and the forest swayed with wind and music, Reed no longer felt like an outsider. He wasn't a visitor in a strange world. He was home, he was loved, he was hers, and she was his.